After receiving a SIP request, a user agent should always send back one or more SIP responses. Well, almost always. In this module, we'll formally introduce SIP responses. By the time we're done, you should understand the role of a SIP response, that responses are grouped into families, and that knowing the family means knowing the individual, and you should understand and be able to identify the three component parts of a SIP response. So why should a user agent server send back a response? Well, there are two reasons. Firstly, to confirm that the request was actually received, and secondly, to provide an update on how things are progressing. Now, the SIP specification, RFC 3261, defines 50 different responses, all to report back different things in different circumstances. But don't worry, we needn't learn them all individually because they're arranged into families, 6 families in fact, the 100 family, the 200 family, 300, 400 and so on up to the 600 family. The great thing is that once you know the characteristics of the family, you automatically know the characteristics of the individual. You'll practically know the purpose of each of those 50 responses. Now, like SIP requests, SIP responses have 3 component parts. In fact, the same 3 component parts. The start line at the top, announcing its purpose through a 3-digit status code and a reason phrase, 100 trying, 200 OK, 404 not found, for example. Then there's a selection of SIP headers that provide routing information and data that help the upstream client process this response in the correct context. And then finally, after the character return line feed, there might be a message body in which some non-SIP data can be conveyed upstream. Some media options, for example. Note how this 100 trying response has no payload and therefore a content length of 0. Note also how many of the response headers are copied directly from the request. The call ID, the from and the to headers, the CSEC transaction identifier and the via header. We haven't discussed the via header yet. Of course, some headers are only relevant to the request and wouldn't make sense in the response. There's no payload in this response, so as I've said, the user agent sets its own content length. Okay, SIP responses then. Responses are sent for 2 reasons: to confirm to the upstream client that the request was received okay, and to provide an update on how things are progressing. Responses are organized into 6 family groups, and when we know the family, we know the individual, meaning that we don't have to specifically learn about each and every response individually. Responses have 3 component parts: the start line, some SIP headers, and an optional message body. And finally, some headers are copied over from the request, while others are set by the user agent server.